everyone. We are here for a big running celebration, a winning celebration. So, Chris, where are you? You can't hardly see him in the crowd there. Yeah. So, welcome, Chris. I think you have some family members here. Yeah?
I have friends.
Okay. Well, aren't you family friends too? Yes.
Sure,
okay.
sure.
So you got friends. We have Dan Dillon from the Olympic Club and maybe some members of the Olympic Club who helped put this all together, made it happen. And you bet. And our wonderful, wonderful Cork City, our committee, our leaders, and they were the ones that were maybe over there when this great run happened. So we are here, and I would like to introduce somebody who is very sporty, a really sporty person. And he's sporty about a whole lot of things. He likes to play golf, and our Harding Park, we've had lots of wonderful championship places, organizations there come, and I think there's going to be something else happening a little bit later on. And this person also was the leader in getting the Warriors Stadium, the arena, coming to San Francisco. Still pitching for the Giants, no matter what. So may I introduce a really sporty mayor. Give me an L, give me an E, give me an E, Mayor Lee.
Thank you. Talk about sporty. First of all, welcome everybody to our City Hall. It's great to have all of you. Charlotte and I always are thinking about ways in which to party. Yes. So tonight we got another good reason to party and to use this space appropriately. But let me take you back to a larger context here. For years, this city has had a wonderful, wonderful relationship with the city of Cork in Ireland. It's been our sister city, and we've honored that relationship probably more excitingly than many of the other 18 sister cities, because every time we go to Cork, we've had tremendous fun. And it just so happens we have a lot of Irish in our city as well. Well, kind of out of the blue, the city of Cork months ago called our Office of Protocol, called Charlotte and says, hey, you know, we've got this international marathon that you guys do marathons. Yeah, of course we do. You know, we've got big marathons, medium-sized marathons, women's marathons, all kinds of stuff. And we're a really sports city. He says, well, why don't you send a representative to Cork, maybe through the sister city people-to-people program. And of course, our sister city been led by people like Jim and McDermott and other members of our Cork sister city who have been there creating this people-to-people relationship all for many years. Well, at first we said, marathon, run, what should we do? Well, we decided to call one of the best sports minds in our city, someone who happens to be an officer of a local club. Well, that's, of course, Dan Dillon, the president of our Olympic Club. So Dan, who also is a great member of our sister city relations and understands the relations that we have as a city to our international partnerships. Well, he immediately said, I know somebody who we can send, somebody who has been working in the technology field and kind of decided to give that up so that he can be a full-time representative of our Olympic Club as a runner. He's been in the Oakland Marathon, he's been in the Napa Marathon, but interesting enough, Dan told us, he'd never competed outside of the United States. Well, again, another milestone about to happen. And Dan allowed us to be introduced to Chris, and we said, this is the way we respond to that request. We send somebody from a club who has a history, and by the way, we do have members of the board of directors here, and I want to thank the Olympic Club for being here tonight, because if you know the history of the Olympic Club, it's kind of like a little bit of the history of the city. They're kind of like the source of our Olympiads in our city of San Francisco. They've in the earlier years, in the 20s and 30s, in those early years, we had Olympian championships of people who were members of the Olympic Club train and do all the different sports. They're not just known as a golf club, they're known as a sports center. And so in that honor, they helped us and introduced us to Chis Mocko. You know, Chris is a fun-loving guy, but as I said earlier, he was in technology. I think you're working for Square, one of our exciting companies. Jack Dorsey, that whole thing, you know, business, you know what that is? And you kind of look like him with that beard, but a little taller. But he got excited. He said, yeah, I think I can represent San Francisco. And so through Dan's effort, the Sister City's effort, we identified and presented Chis Mocko to the Cork City Marathon. Well, now the story's become a legend in the newspapers and in accolades all across, I think, the world. He's got more press than even I do on his accomplishments. And someone who's won local marathons now adds to his shelf of trophies an international win. The Cork City Marathon winner, Chis Mocko. And not only did he do it in style, not only did he win in such a great fashion, I think he was like at least almost 3 minutes faster than anyone, but when he hit the finish line, he did the limbo underneath the finishing tape, a limbo. I mean, I do that naturally just walking. But he had to bend over, and he did it. He had enough time to do it and still beat the next guy by 3 minutes. So a great feat, wonderful, was a fun way to honor our people-to-people relationship. And it was also kind of, in our minds, it was kind of the prelude to something that we're going to be doing this fall. In September, the Sister City Committee that's headed by Jim and McNermott and so many other delegates here tonight are bringing a very large contingent of mostly you people right here, and me, and Charlotte and everybody, to once again renew our friendship. It happens that they're gonna have the UNESCO conference in Cork, and we're gonna join them as a city that honors that goal. But we get to do it in a fashion that no other city can do it. We've got the Cork Marathon winner right here. And tonight, I want to just have a little celebration, but something that I felt should be done in a place like City Hall, where we give the highest honors to the people that have accomplished some unique things. And to say to Chris, thank you for taking up the call from and represent the Olympic Club, yourself as a great person, the city of San Francisco be our international representative, and that you trained specially. In fact, I read that article where they said you weren't even sleeping at night. You were so nervous about your first international race that you hardly slept. And when you're on there, you were just energized bunny all around to make that trip great. So
He was at a pub.
it was So tonight and today, let me introduce to you, but also appropriately honor Chris with today bringing Chris Limbo Marathon Mocko Day in San Francisco. There we go.
Oh, man. You misspelled limbo on that.
Oh, down
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Thank you, President. All right, Chris.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
come up here, say a few words.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, I wasn't expecting to have to say anything, but I might have written down some. Hold on, let me get my speech. I'm just going to read the last article that they wrote about me in the Olympian for the next 20 minutes, if you guys are cool. It's about 6 pages long. I was supposed to have a piece of paper in my pocket, but I didn't have it, so this is the first thing to grab. Okay. Bad first joke. We're warming up. Tough crowd here. Tough crowd. They promised me Jameson and Guinness, and I'm not seeing that. So unfortunately, not quite as rowdy a crowd as we expected tonight. But this is so cool. So I guess July 13th is officially Chis Mocko Day. So hopefully nothing important ever happens on this day because I don't want to lose this day now. So I wanted to rewind a little bit. March 14th, perhaps? Maybe a couple days before that, we were right here, and the mayor was speaking at this same exact podium, and I was standing somewhere in the back, trying not to be cited, thinking I shouldn't even be at this event. What's going on? There's a bunch of Irish people here for the Irish flag raising ceremony, and I suddenly heard my name from the mayor of San Francisco, and he was like, Chis Mocko is representing us at this marathon. No pressure, Chris. And he just like stared at me for a while. No pressure. And I suddenly realized, boy, I better get in shape because I have 3 months until this race happens, and I'm representing the entire city, if not the whole country, in this super important marathon. And I ended up heading out early June, and I had some sleepless nights, not as much from nerves, but from jet lag, and unfortunately did not touch a pint of Guinness until, unfortunately, until after the race. So I was being very respectful for the race, but got to the start line, hadn't slept for 4 or 5 days, and I was wearing my USA flag shorts. I had a very tough decision the night before, which was, do I go for the 2.5 inseam or the 1.5 inseam? And suddenly it became clear that it was 1.5 inseam had to be the way to go. And I actually was planning to wear a hat for the race because it was very sunny the day of the race. And I had brought a USA headband as well. And I went to the start line with the hat, like, this is the smart decision. It'll protect me from the sun. I won't have any issues seeing. And with 5 minutes before the gun went off, I was like, no, I got to be representing the U.S. Ran back up to my hotel, sprinted back to the hotel room, grabbed my headband, and started the race with that. Oops, sorry. And I think it made a difference. But it was an amazing experience. The council over there, be prepared the day before the race with the ensemble of athletes that had come out from Wales, Germany, all over Europe. They took us to the first thing in the morning at 10:30 in the morning, took us to the Jameson distillery the day before the race. So I don't know what's planned for non-racers when you guys go there, but be careful. And then had lunch where we had a couple pints of Beamish, which is, in my opinion, better than Guinness. But I kind of was like, okay, it's 3 p.m. in the afternoon. I have a bit of a buzz. I have to race in 12 hours. It's probably not the best prep. Anyways, back to the race. I was fully decked out in USA gear, and somebody turns to me at the start line and goes, hey, man, there's a really fast runner in this race. Be careful. He's a local. And this guy named Alan was right next to me. I was like, okay, he looks pretty legit. And he was about 6 inches shorter than me, which always upsets me because I'm like, he's probably carrying 50 pounds less than me during this race. This is totally not fair. And this guy takes off, and he's running 5:15 miles, which is 30 seconds faster than I had any intention of running. When we looked up the race, a couple months ago, I had seen the winning times. I was like, okay, this will be a walk in the park. It'll be pretty easy. But this guy was not going to make it an easy day for us. And every single person in the crowds, and there was very large crowds, was cheering, go Alan, you're doing it, go Alan. And they would see me and just start, shaking their fists. And all I heard a couple go USAs, but mostly it was, oh, Donald. And probably not the right place to get political, but all I could say was, yeah, I love my president, and just keep running. But basically, there was a lot of animosity towards me, and not the greatest experience for the first half marathon until this guy dropped me, and I ended up running for the next 10 miles by myself. But all I could think was, I am representing the city of San Francisco. I got to figure out a way to win. And it may have helped that the cyclist who was biking alongside me, kind of guiding me, said, oh, don't worry about Alan. He always blows up at the 20-mile mark. And I had a hard time believing it, but right around mile 20, Alan sure as heck blew up, and he ended up finishing well back in the field. So sorry, Alan, about that, but he definitely pushed me really hard. I actually was saved by this 6-year-old who gave me some Haribo candies at about mile 19, these gummy bears, because I had run out of goos. I didn't have any energy left, and he gave me these candies, and it kind of brought me back to life and ended up What was in the candy? I wasn't tested afterwards. I wasn't tested afterwards. But the moral of the story was I went in with really high expectations of winning this race. I expected it to be an easy day. It was far from an easy day. I got pushed the entire time, ran much faster than I intended. Actually had a really big 100-miler a couple weeks later, and don't think I was as prepared for it, recovered for it as I would have expected because I had run so hard in Cork, but was so happy and excited by that experience. After the race, every single person came up to me and was super friendly and welcoming. I got a free latte at a coffee bar, which I've never had before. And then some bar owner on Facebook messaged me, was like, oh, come over for a free drink. And it turns out free drink in Irish is actually a Jameson and a Guinness together, and several rounds of that. So that was an experience. So again, prepare your livers before this trip. So anyways, going back to the march and being here to begin with, sorry I'm going on for a while, but there's something motivational and inspiring at the end of this. So the mayor mentioned, February 17th, I had quit my job to focus full-time on running. I had a very nice job at Square. We had just IPO'd. The stock was doing pretty well. I was getting paid a decent salary, and I was like, you know what? That's not really for me. Making money is not really for me. I'm going to do this running thing where I enter races to win $100 or a free pair of shoes, which probably you run 50 miles to win $100. Like, maybe is that as good as a typical job? Probably not. But I followed my passion, and most of what I was doing was trail running, but Dan sent me this email about running this Cork City Marathon, and at the time I was convinced that I had to say yes to everything, and I was like, this doesn't fit into my training plan. This is going to be a lot of travel. It's going to be hard on the roads. I'm probably not going to even be prepared for it, but I wanted to say yes to everything. And I think that's the biggest lesson that I can take out of this, is that this wasn't the thing that I was expecting to be the biggest highlight of my first 4 months out of the tech community, but it is actually the greatest experience I had. So say yes to everything. Quit your job today. Move into the basement of your friend's apartment. I was very nervous. Matthew emailed me beforehand. I technically am currently a Mill Valley resident because I can no longer, it's harder to pay rent in San Francisco when you don't have a job. So if there's any apartments, just if you'd like to kick some people out of there, I'd love a place in the city, but I'll be back soon. It was an amazing honor to represent the city, and yeah, that's all I've got today. Sorry, this wasn't as... I had a lot more jokes planned. I had them written down, but somebody else has my phone, so that's all I've got. But it's amazing to have the support from all of you, and the tweet getting retweeted by Mayor Edley. If you have a bucket list and that's not on your bucket list, it should be added because it's the coolest thing ever. So thank you so much for showing up.
All right, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, look at the hug.
Thank you.
How about me?
Okay, absolutely.
All right.
If you want to see, the limbo is a lot easier when you haven't run 26 miles. So it looks a little like this.
It looks good to me.
Looks pretty good.
We have in our midst, speaking of running, of course, the mayor runs everything here, but there are a couple other people that run things, and that's London Breed, president of the Board of Supervisors, and Naomi Kelly, who is the chief administrator. So they run things, and I'm sure they have a lot of Irish in their heart, right? So I think there's something else here that looks like it's from the California legislature, and it says that they recognize you. That's good, isn't it? So there we go. So that's from the Assembly, California Legislature Assembly. So there's another one for you to frame, and somebody just sent me.
This is where my tax dollars go to for this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah. They can't afford a beautiful thing like we can. And then here's the San Francisco Cork Sister City Committee. Wonderful, is that right, from the committee? So you can frame that. I mean, if you ever get an apartment, you can have some things to put in it.
Someday.
And here's the controller. She says, how much did you make in the race? And she'll be calling on you soon. But in the meantime, you can frame this too. This is from Betty Yee, California State Controller.
Awesome.
So your apartment's going to be decorated. Okay? So good luck. Run, run. You know, I think you're probably going to run for office. I can see it coming, can't you? And it'll be fun, too. So speaking of fun, there's lots of food here and some wine. Do we have any Guinness here? I don't know. Well,
I can run out and get some right now.
okay. But, you know, in September, the mayor's going to be going to Ireland, so all of you can go and drink there or whatever else you do there. So have a great time. Congratulations, Chris. You are great and loved your unprepared speech. It was great. So have a good time. Thank you.